SWAT Kats The Reticle Squadron was created by Christian and Yvonne Tremblay for Hanna-Barbera Cartoons Incorporated. Support the SWAT Kats Revolution Kickstarter by visiting swatkats.info. And remember to buy SWAT Kats DVDs at wbshop.com. This is a swatkats.info production. So while this commercial break has been going on for the last 3 to 5 minutes, I think the SWAT Kats have been being electrocuted. As we fade back to the scene, they seem to be...
I can now taste only copper.
Taste blue.
We see them lying on the ground, quasi-conscious at best. I think Hard Drive kind of did quite a number on them. Dark Cat has a little bit of a sadistic plan here, where he puts them on the world's slowest moving conveyor belt, and is content to leave the room while the quote-unquote inevitable is supposed to happen.
I would love them to have taken a page out of Rattigan's book and had Dark Cat singing, "Goodbye, so soon, and isn't this a crime?"
Alright, he says, without the Turbo Cat, they're nothing. So... this underestimation of Dark Cats is what gets him in trouble. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love his flair for the dramatic. I love this whole thing, making him suffer and sweat it out. It's a creative way to die. He even had a backup for it. Oh, well, if they turn the conveyor belt off, well, it's, wired to blow sky high, but still... you should have been paying attention and left more than 2 creeplings in there just to make sure. I mean, he really must have thought they were nothing without the Turbo Cat. I'm like, come on.
At least set up a camcorder so you can record what happens.
It's a great lampshade hanging moment because Hard Drive, in sort of a character-defining moment, he's perplexed by the absurdity of this himself.
I still say you should have let me fry those 2.
I could kill him, it's quick. Easy.
It's like Hard Drive knows what's going to happen, but, he's so afraid of his new boss that he just doesn't want to point out, the error in his ways.
I could go back and do that, We can still mince up the body. It's just let me kill them first. Just putting it out there.
They were unconscious. Why didn't he think to peek under the masks? I just want to see who these people are that infuriated me so much. I made this big giant death trap for. When you at least want to know who they were.
Underneath the masks, they are nothing. He hates the SWAT Kats. Full stop. If you take away the masks, he's just killing 2 random dudes.
2 jerks in flight suits.
Exactly.
So Hard Drive, who is way too cool to just climb up the side of the Turbo Cat, uses his little teleportation trick to zip right inside of it.
Do you think he does that in his house, just zipping from room to room to room? The commercial's on, zip, 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 flush, zip, 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 zip. Okay, I'll go get myself soda, zip, 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 zip. Aha!
I would imagine his carpeting is, singed in various places where that happened.
So now in control of the Turbo Cat, Hard Drive takes off and soars into the sky. We see Dark Cat leaving the scene with his creepling entourage, in broad daylight, no less. I don't know if he's heading off into a limo or something, but he's just walking away.
It's this moment that makes Dark Cat like a boss, I don't care. Come on, creeplings, away. What are you going to do, arrest me?
I'm pretty sure people saw him walking by and going, yeah, okay, I'll allow that.
Or there was no Krang-esque underground drill vehicle or something to get there. There was no awesome, airship or whatever. For all we know, Dark Cat took the bus to get there, the way that he's walking off to the sidewalk there.
I'm not picturing Dark Cat and Hard Drive on the subway just sitting there sulking.
Although Dark Cat always struck me more as a minivan kind of guy. He's up there, sitting there with all the creeplings strapped in the back. You need a minivan for that many seats.
One of the few scenes in the show where we see people in the city doing things. We get an awesome pan of a sort of downtown area. People are going around the sidewalks and streets, shopping, doing things.
Actual small people as well.
Yes, there's a...
kids.
I think this is the only child we see on the show. who has a speaking role, no less. There might have been, actually, I think there might have been some kids in the One Strikes Me Killer on the
Mutilor.
beach. But we get this kid who is excited to see the Turbo Cat flying by, which who wouldn't be? I mean, I guess the SWAT cats seem like they would be popular, maybe. I mean, he's jumping up and down, pointing at the sky, and they see him, and almost sort of like a Shakespearean irony almost, as the SWAT cats apparently start to destroy the city in horrific fashion.
Once again, I'm gonna point out to that attention to detail is how all that debris is raining down. All the citizens are running for their lives. All that.
Collateral damage.
Yes, there we go.
Those handful of citizens are the ones who are paying the taxes, remember?
So hard drive starts to rain terror from above in the Turbo Cat, destroying buildings, and like you mentioned, there's just debris and everything falling down from the sky, people running in terror. That same kid turns to,
I think he says dad to him.
What are you doing, Daddy?
and it's almost kind of a little heart-wrenching little scene right there to see like your heroes who are essentially doing unheroic things.
I don't know, son. I just don't know. How do you explain that to a kid? You know, one day they just decide to blow up the city.
They're just having a bad day. They'll be okay tomorrow.
Just pretend there were bad people in that building.
I bet there's no Santa either.
We get Dark Cat. He's in his secret lair. He has sort of his Ozymandias-style wall of televisions in the background as he's barking out orders to hard drive to cause more damage and to make sure you level as many things as possible. The sequence that's interspersed with Angora reporting, saying that the SWAT cats are trashing Mega Cat City in true AP-style reporter parlance.
The SWAT cats have destroyed 2 skyscrapers. Boom! The SWAT cats have destroyed 4 skyscrapers. Fair enough, you know, I'll listen for the sound of booms.
She wants to be ultra correct.
There's a scene where Dark Cat's watching that news report, and he almost seems annoyed that Angora is crediting the SWAT cats with destroying the city. He says,
The SWAT cats are trashing Mega Cat City.
No, I am.
and I thought to myself, wait a second, wasn't that your intent?
Maybe next time I should spray my name across the Turbo Cat.
He was just enjoying that. That's what that was about. No, I am, and you just don't know it. Ha ha ha.
So you mentioned Angora. She's at the steps of Enforcer headquarters, I guess.
A big yellow sign behind them. There's like, hit here. This is where the weak spot is.
I am surprised that Dark Cat didn't make that a priority target because he doesn't seem to be a big fan of Enforcer headquarters. Maybe he thought that'd be too obvious. I don't know. The city's leadership, Mayor Manx, Commander Farrell, and Kelly Briggs are exiting Enforcer headquarters. I wonder what they were doing there earlier to be walking out. If they're having some sort of a fun little meeting there where Commander Farrell was braiding them for money or something.
Oh, we had a nice little tea party. Yes, every Tuesday with scones.
Yeah, because they walked out very nonchalantly out there.
Well, I Irished up the coffee, you see. Or occasionally I Scottished it up as well, you know. You never can tell with me.
One recurring theme in the show is that the situation is never too dire for Commander Farrell to have his I told you so moments to the press.
I've always said the SWAT cats are nothing but lawless vigilantes.
This is unsurprising behavior to him.
Well, it doesn't help that they were like rude to him, or just earlier that day or the evening or whatever. You know, oh, what do you think I am, stupid? Bingo, ha ha ha! You know, come on, Farrell. He was waiting for this reason.
Oh, how I've longed for this day.
You don't know how long I've waited.
I've got a speech here, it's all prepared. My first I told you so goes to my mother.
What I love about this scene is how Manx and Farrell are hogging the camera as Callie Briggs sort of has to force her way in between the two to try to get a word in. One of my favorite lines in this episode is when Manx tries to be the reassuring mayor.
I want to assure the public we have the situation well in hand. Assure them, Farrell.
Reassure them, Farrell.
That's a great line. So Farrell turns to the camera and says, like, oh, he's got an entire Enforcer squadron ready to go to take out the Turbo Cat. His expression looks a little bit too happy for this.
So full of glee.
It's like, oh, yay.
It's not even my birthday.
Now, I know that other people have pointed this out in various places and times over the years. There's this little interaction between Farrell and Kelly Briggs as she's chasing him. And Callie points out, like, we don't really know if it is them. We don't have any proof about that. And then another building explodes. And then Farrell says, that's proof enough for me. Well, even if it wasn't them, I mean, it doesn't really change what his plan of action is going to be. It's sort of a weird kind of thing there. So I don't know.
Yeah, because, like, it doesn't matter who they are. They gotta be stopped. It doesn't matter if they really are the SWAT Kats or they're really not the SWAT Kats. Don't you want somebody up there, Callie, to kind of stop this? Till they figure it out?
Yeah, she points out it might not be them in that jet. And I'm like, so?
Doesn't matter at this point.
Shouldn't that be a good thing? Anyways, that's my my little moment of nitpicky pedantry there. So we'll move along. So Hard Drive is in the jet. He's commenting about how, like, all easy this is. And then he looks over his shoulder, and it seems like every helicopter on the planet is behind him.
That's probably the most Enforcer choppers we've seen in one screenshot.
Now that is chopper backup.
I think he had some special code for this.
Code, it's my birthday and Christmas. Code, it's my birthday and Christmas.
There were Enforcer pilots running from their homes or whatever they were doing. You had to come to this.
And for some reason, Farrell's on the he's on the Skype calls trying to talk to him and say, like, oh, it's time to surrender or whatever. I don't know why he gave him this warning. And Hard Drive just swings around and he uses the repertoire of SWAT Kats weapons to take out the choppers. I'm rewatching the scene, and I don't think a single Enforcer chopper manages to fire a single shot.
No, they don't.
Well, we tried to fire, but all the control panels were dented with these fist marks.
The true destructive potential of the SWAT Kats arsenal is showed off in this episode to a T here.
Makes you realise that Farrell might actually have a point. These people are running around with this sort of thing all the time, and nobody bats an eye.
We see the cement machine gun being used more effectively than I think it ever has been. It takes out half of the Enforcer choppers. They just sort of fall out of the sky. For some reason, Farrell has to give the order to fire at will and blast them out of the sky, which I don't know what he's been waiting for this whole time.
You'd think that was already implied.
He had to bang the console several times to do that.
Dark Cat's been listening in, and he makes his little sarcastic remark, like, you heard him, blast him out of the sky, Hard Drive. To which Hard Drive more than obliges. He uses the Turbo Cat's full complement, I guess. I mean, it's a lot. He uses like the full complement of buzzsaw missiles, which go streaming out of the Turbo Cat. And I think they actually use this attack one more time in like Cry Turmoil or something like that. The rest of the Enforcer choppers are shot out of the sky, go plummeting to the ground, and it's a massacre. It's a pathetic, pathetic massacre.
There were no survivors.
Callie, she's sitting there in the Cat's Eye News chopper because, her and Ann are besties, remember? So she got to hitch a ride. And she couldn't. She's like, I can't see the pilot, and she's like, get a little closer. And what is the chopper's name? He's actually credited Al.
Yeah.
Al.
And he's like,
Al, yes.
I'm not wanting to get closer, not after what they did in the Enforcers. I'm like, he's used to Ann doing that. And after the last time they faced Dark Cat, they nearly died. He's not getting anywhere close to that.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
So Callie Briggs' concerns about, well, what if it's not really the SWAT Kats, is addressed as what sounds like the voice of T-Bone comes over the radio, and it sounds like the SWAT Kats are demanding a ransom from the city in order to stop destroying it, much to her surprise and dismay.
And it seems to be from a device that Dark Cat already had. What was he using it for before?
It was the defense secrets.
Ah, yes.
Which he claimed he didn't even need those, but then, I guess they...
He actually put them to use for this one time.
Fair enough. I thought beforehand he was ordering pizza using T-Bone's voice. When I don't tip them, they're going to think it's T-Bone and they'll hate him and
Angora turns to Callie Briggs on live television, says like, oh, what are we going to do about this now? And she's like, well, what are we going to do? We have to pay up. And it's just so resigned and defeated. It was amusing to me.
Dark Cat wants to empty the city treasury. If Anne had reported that most of that was sunk in a Mega Cat tower.
He sunk most of the city treasury into this place, but that's off the record.
Gotcha.
Several episodes ago, Dark Cat probably wouldn't have even been going after the city treasury for this episode.
Okay, well, I've got 16 cents and a coupon for 1 free Slurpee with every purchase of a big meal. I don't think it's going to go very far.
So while all this has been happening, our heroes have been tied up and put on the world's slowest moving conveyor belt, heading towards what appears to be their impending death with this crushing machine at the end of it. Very reminiscent of the that ore crushing machine that was in the Indiana Jones movie Temple of Doom. It's exactly the same thing. Off to the side, the creeplings are being model employees and sort of just joking around on the job. I love this detail. The Glovatrix that was taken from T-Bone earlier was on the ground. One of the creeplings picks it up, and he uses it to shoot the other creepling with a net, and they both sort of laugh like idiots.
They're pretending to be SWAT cats.
It is adorable. You want to take one home and just keep it as a pet.
Razor observes that the creepling in the net is easily able to chew its way out of the net with its razor-sharp teeth, and he thinks, well, we need teeth like theirs to get free of these restraints. They pretend like they're escaping or getting out of their ropes, which attracts the attention of the creeplings who come within headbutting distance. They get knocked out by the SWAT cats, who are in a prone, sort of like inescapable position. It's really dumb.
And it's not even very well acted. I don't think that neither T-Bone or Razor ever was in a school play, because that was below average even for them. Oh, wow, I'm almost free. Yeah, just a couple more seconds. Guys, are you going to just turn and wink at them as well? If you had your hands free, you could use air quotes.
They're more than happy to leave the creeplings on the conveyor belt as they're heading towards the rock-crushing machine. As they escape from that perilous situation, one of the creeplings comes back to consciousness. He scampers away and goes to run to press a button. I'm wondering if Dark Cat told the creeplings that pressing that button would set off an explosion, or not, and if he lied to them and said, like, oh, you press this button for help if they, like, get out of their restraints.
No, that is the pizza button. You press that button and pizza appears.
Well, they were ignorant enough to fall for the terrible acting on the SWAT cats, so whatever Dark Cat told them, they went for it.
So, true to his word from earlier in the episode, the building is in fact rigged with explosives and begins to explode in a fantastic Mook animated fashion as a sequence of these destructive things goes off. T-Bone is able to recover his Glovatrix in an escape sequence worthy of Batman. He fires the grappling hook, grabs Razor, they ascend rapidly out through an open window. He flies out, fires another grappling hook, and they manage to swing around a telephone pole to safety as the building explodes behind them. It is a tight little sequence, and it's a pretty cool escape.
I like how when they cling to that telephone pole, it's like, that was so cat-like, just clinging to the top of that thing.
So as they get to safety on the ground outside and are looking up at the wonderful destruction behind them, admiring it, who else arrives on scene but Commander Farrell?
You'd think he'd have other things to do other than just a random factory exploding.
How did he get there so fast?
Farrell actually did attempt. He actually did something pretty clever. They had the money bags, earlier. And he's told Mayor Manx, he said, I put a tracing device in one of the money bags, thinking he'll follow him and everything. And I guess hard drive, either maybe his electricity, he somehow found it pretty quick. And then jettisoned the one money bag with the tracer and it dropped. Poor Farrell. That was a scene that got, I wanted to mention too.
He actually tried.
Yes, he was trying.
Yeah, earlier on what happened was the Turbo Cat was sort of, doing donuts around City Hall while they were waiting for Mayor Manx to essentially just drop out every physical dollar that was in his possession. These were not his bribe bags. So Manx has all this money, drops it out on the sidewalk, and he very sort of jovially says, there's all the money, there you go. The Turbo Cat descends its little grappling hook and it scoops it all up into the bomb bay.
Which is impressive, because if you've ever tried one of those claw gang machines at an arcade, it's impossible to actually grab anything, and that grabbed multiple things all in one go without dropping anything.
After the SWAT cats have escaped the fire explosion of the litter factory, and oh my god, can you even think about the kitty litter just being sort of exploded and covering the entire neighborhood?
Everything would be pebble dashed.
That is going to be one awful mess to clean up.
So somebody get Burke and Murray on the phone. Tell them to bring a squeegee.
For some reason, Commander Farrell knows that he should be here. He has an entire little battalion of enforcers who join along with him. He holds up the SWAT cats at gunpoint, tells them that they're under arrest, and the SWAT cats act super surprised. I don't know why. They're unaware of what's been happening, but even then, I mean, Farrell putting them under arrest doesn't seem that out of character.
I guess it's their way of saying, don't you have anything better to do than pick on us?
And then this is one of the best animated and looking scenes with Callie Briggs in the entire show. She is on scene and she is not happy with the two of them.
Well, it's a bit like a mum just sort of storming into the school when she's got a phone call saying you've been bad. Right, when I get you home, you're in for such a talking to.
Yeah, she has that look on her face, just that, you would just have to look at the kid, and the kid's, oh boy.
It is known as the mom look.
That is the I'm so disappointed in you. You have no idea.
Someone's going to get a whooping.
Somebody gonna get hurt real bad.
Our dramatic, suspenseful cut to commercial involves Commander Farrell, who has them pretty much dead to rights here, and he wants to take this opportunity to find out who they really are. I don't know why no one else tried this before.
Yeah, Dark Cat!
What I think would have been a great scene is that if he actually does remove their masks and he sees them and he says, I have no idea who you guys are. And T-Bone and Razor being really offended by that.
Are you serious?
Yeah, especially after what he did to them.
So as we come back from commercial, Farrell's reaching to unmask. Callie, who has made her way to stand next to Razor, she very loudly whispers she wants Razor to take her hostage. This seems super contrived.
Callie is totally metagaming for you RPG fans. That's when the person controlling Callie knows what's going on and is just, not letting her character her character knows what's going on.
T-Bone is surprised by this, but after about 5 or 10 minutes of convincing from Razor, he catches on.
He has one of those moments where he's thinking back to when Razor just last asked him, where do you go? And why can't I follow you there?
Pretending to kidnap Callie Briggs as they walk her back to her sedan, and they take off, driving away at rapid speed. 2 enforcers take aim and open fire, to which Commander Farrell is really irritated about.
Actually slaps the guns out of their hands.
I do love the car chase that comes after this. I love it. It's like, it reminds me of like that Blues Brothers, where they're like driving all through the city crazy, through everything. I love that car chase.
But how often is T-Bone sideways when he's driving that thing? Next year in Fast and Furious.
Amid all of this, Callie and Razor are having a bit of a discussion as they sort of explain, like, oh, it wasn't really us in the jet, and they sort of give the backstory about what's been happening. T-Bone talks about, like, oh, who works on your car on this one? And Callie says she's got a couple of mechanics who work for him. And then T-Bone chides Razor, like, oh, you can't keep the Turbo Cat working as great as this. Amid all of this discussion in the car, as T-Bone's expertly dodging and weaving and manages to lose all of the enforcers, he goes through a really tight alley, and it looks like it's Commander Farrell's sedan is the last one that gets sort of wedged in between. As you mentioned earlier, Felony, very Blues Brothers style. Razor reveals that he has the Turbo Cat low-jacked. He's able to track where its position is conveniently. As they arrive and exit the vehicle, they tell Callie Briggs to stay in the car because, obviously, it's just too dangerous for her.
We can't have a girl along with us.
Especially not one who can lift up giant vases and knock me unconscious.
Yeah, last time we were together, that's a good thing I wore a helmet.
You might actually kill me this time.
She might think they were creepling.
The expression...
Sorry.
The expression on Callie's face after that is, this is the most, I think, annoyed she's ever looked in the whole show.
Even before when she was, storming towards them, she didn't look that annoyed. This was just a case of, oh, you did not just tell me to wait in the car.
It looks kind of like a barn or something where the Turbo Cat's parked inside of. We see a scene of creeplings unloading bags and bags of money and taking them underneath a secret lair, a little spiral staircase. We see Dark Cat's Ozymandias lair, complete with a throne room, as all of his big screen TVs in the background. Once again delivering a monologue to Hard Drive, who seems a little less annoyed since there's what appears to be lots and lots of bags of money placed in front of him.
Well, at least I'm getting paid for this.
He sarcastically chides that Manx is probably going to have to raise taxes.
And the Magcat City is going through a financial crisis. I'm going, no, it's not you guys. Max beat you to the punch with the tower. Do not pat yourselves on the back with that. You guys got the crumbs of what was left over.
Most of those bags are filled with newspaper clippings.
$1 billion boondoggle from a few episodes ago.
Max probably already raised some taxes, and that's how he got to scrape together what was mixed in with the paper clippings.
In most of those bags, either the newspaper clippings or bits of the Mega Cat Tower, just to give it a bit of weight. Most of these bags are filled with kitty litter that we can't get any more from this city because the factory exploded.
So as our two villains are patting themselves on the back for their job well done, we have a surprise dynamic entry from T-Bone, who explodes from the ceiling and comes crashing down. Our dramatic scene where the SWAT Kats barge into the Ozymandias lair, and Dark Cat, more so than Hard Drive, is surprised by the fact that they're still alive. But the SWAT Kats have come prepared this time. T-Bone's dual-wielding glovatrixes, and Razor's got one of his anti-material recoilless rifles, or bazooka, or whatever that is that he brought with him. I think it's the same one he had in the giant bacteria that he carries with him in his seat there, in the Turbo Cat. He takes aim at the charging creeplings, who instantly recognize that they've made a horrible mistake.
I wanted to be a baker! You know what? I didn't even like these guys. They're weird. I'm out of here.
Razor quickly dispatches them. Hard Drive decides to take matters into his own hands and launches his own attack. The reason why I think T-Bone's wearing two glovatrixes is because earlier in the episode, Razor said that they're insulated, which would make sense as Hard Drive punches T-Bone and there's no effect. I assume Hard Drive thought he was going to electrify them on contact or something.
That wasn't supposed to happen.
T-Bone takes him out in one punch, lays him out, and that's enough to convince Hard Drive that it's time to leave.
I don't do well with physical confrontation.
He retreats back into a nearby computer monitor, says that he's going to leave, but not before Razor takes aim. He fires and totally blows up this computer console. In what is one of the more cartoony moments of the show, Hard Drive is ejected from it, looks disheveled. T-Bone runs over, grabs it by the collar, and shakes off the surge coat, which falls impotently to the ground. Now, where's Dark Cat been this entire time? How do you lose sight of this guy? I mean, you didn't see him in the warehouse. Somehow he manages to sneak up on Razor. This big shadow befall him. He totally just backhand slaps Razor, who gets sent across the room.
I'll hit you with my ring hand.
He commandeers the bazooka and takes aim at them with it. Everyone but Hard Drive has the wherewithal to get out of the way. Hard Drive gets exploded by Dark Cat as he shoots him. He has like this cartoony Hanna-Barbera style lump crater on his forehead. I think he could be dead for all I know. We don't really see him moving ever again in this episode.
I didn't think Dark Cat was going to shoot at him. We were besties.
There is an animation mistake. Dark Cat hit Razor so hard and knocked the mask off of him because he's laying there and they forgot to color in the black around. I was like, wow.
Both SWAT Kats roll out of the way. Apparently Razor's busy trying to recover his mask while T-Bone takes aim with both glovatrixes. The nearby explosion, or just rolling around too severely, has caused them to jam for some reason. Looks like Dark Cat's gonna win this one. He takes aim, he's about to finish them off. And then the best moment of the episode, and one of the best moments of the whole show. Callie Briggs has, amid all the confusion, snuck down. She grabs one of those 100-pound money bags. It's very Phoenix Wright style, just throws this bag across the room. Dramatic scene. Hits Dark Cat in the face, causes him to misfire, shoots the bazooka into the ceiling. A bunch of debris rains down, distracts him. The SWAT Kats charge him, collapse him into a wall with enough force to, I think, kill him, because he just falls down. He is out.
It's a pretty severe hit. You see the necks go...
Referee would have thrown out one of those cards onto the field with that impact. Unnecessary roughness.
Well, his normally orange pupilless eyes go black. He's knocked out so hard.
The SWAT Kats turn to Callie Briggs, who is, more than a little smug about this, and deservedly so. Callie Briggs saves the day.
That's what happens when you leave me behind. I one-up you. Ha ha.
Girl power.
she humorously mentions that they should probably get all this stolen money back to City Hall so she can get paid this week. It was a great line.
It's like, oh yeah, Mega Cat doesn't have to go bankrupt, I guess. Just, I need my paycheck.
Priorities. That girl's got them.
In the next scene, the Turbo Cat dumps off a whole bunch of money in front of City Hall that were stolen. And along with some extra things with Hard Drive and Dark Cat tied up who land on top of the pile, Meg steals the scene with his observation that
Looks like we're getting paid back, Carol, with interest.
I like that.
That's a great line.
it was really considerate of the SWAT Kats to pack the money in the way that they did so that it falls first and then Hard Drive and Dark Cat fall, as opposed to the other way around, because that would just add insult to injury to have thousands of pounds of bags of money falling on top of you.
Well, it was a good thing that Dark Cat landed first and then it was Hard Drive. Otherwise it'd been crud. Cause of death? This is going to take more than the little box I've got.
So Farrell and the SWAT Kats have a little final interaction here. He does point out that he'd still like to see the SWAT Kats without their masks on, and T-Bone has his little reply. Insert cat pun, end of scene.
Curiosity killed the cat.
Kill the cat, Farrell.
So it seems like a little bit of a happy ending, but I feel like there's still some unresolved business from earlier in the episode. We transition now to another scene where they're back in the tow truck. It appears to be the dead of night now. A lot of time's passed. We go back to the abandoned senior citizen in her broken down vehicle in the empty part of town who hasn't moved or done anything. She is really unhappy by the fact that she was abandoned.
I finished this entire book of Sudoku whilst you were gone!
Our heroes at least had the wherewithal to bring back a pizza for her to eat, which is a nice little sort of touching moment.
Yes, but that touching moment means that they had to stop, order, wait for the pizza to be cooked. And so it's taking even longer for the poor woman.
Well, she's been out there long enough. A few more minutes won't kill her. Granted, it is Mega Cat City, so they just might, so...
They try to bribe her compliance into not suing them by offering her some free auto repairs and a discount or something, and
3 free tune-ups.
Which is very, very nice of them, considering how much those things cost.
The situation seems to be resolved, and what happens is we get another call back, driving to the moon set by taking this shortcut on this bumpy path. And it's a funny little scene that ties everything back together. It comes full circle, and that's the end of the episode.
And they get a bad review on Yelp later.
So that was Night of the Dark Cat, episode 7 of season 1 of SWAT Kats, the Radical Squadron, written by one-time writer for this show, David Ehrman. That was a real delight, especially after some of the other episodes. A lot of people will mention that the plot of this episode is only so-so, and that people only like it because of the animation, but I mildly disagree with that, because this is the only episode that I could think that comes to mind that shows sort of like the street-level, common, everyday sort of interaction that the SWAT Kats go through. There isn't like a end of the world situation. There's not a giant monster. There's no like magical menace from something coming into play. If you think about it, this is as normal as SWAT Kats gets. I know that might sound stupid to some people, but I like that. I like the everyday elements that are in play, and just this whole notion of sort of like average crime being addressed by the SWAT Kats. I mean, it's not technically average crime, above average, but it feels a little bit more...
Feels a bit more grounded.
Yeah.
It was a real situation that had a real solution.
Yeah, and it was not a problem that was solved instantly by the magic missile of the week. I mean, you had that in the first 5 minutes, and then you had to have another episode beyond that.
Well, in this case, they really had to improvise without their jet.
It was a situation that was solved by throwing money at it.
Money bag ex machina! It showed how smart and brilliant he is. You know, he came up with this plan. You know, you mentioned earlier, like, he didn't go after Enforcer Headquarters first. His main goal was to destroy and get rid of the SWAT Kats, but ruin their reputations. And I kind of wonder, how the citizens of Mega Cat City, how they all handle that afterwards. I mean, I don't know. It would be interesting to see something kind of follow up behind that, like somebody remarking earlier. it was just a brilliant plan, I thought, by Dark Cat to do that. And it was, the other villains aren't really doing that sort of thing to them.
The aftermath of this episode, if we're going to be generous, does get kind of touched on in the Ghost pilot as a sort of the justification for why the Enforcers seek some bigger and better hardware, and also in Metal Urgency that's also alluded to as well. We have a little bit of an arms race that's going on. Unfortunately, none of those arms really get used for the reasons they're developed. Can't have that happen.
Enforcers get to use them.
But those are some observations for another day.
I'm a tough act to get off the stage. I like this game. Mind if I cut
in? Named after everyone's favorite insane, psychotic court jester villain, a Mad Cat moment is anything that, even within the context of SWAT Kats, is either strange, weird, bizarre, or silly. Now, it's time for our hosts to pick their Mad Cat moment of the episode.
Okay, when the SWAT Kats come down to Dark Cat's lair, after they leave Callie in the car and they come over there, they didn't go down the stairs and come in there. They bursted through this concrete, which looked like there was pretty thick concrete showing how far those creeplings had to go down the stairs. And I was like, wow, how in the world did they do that? They didn't look like they used Glovatrix or any kind of special things. Just, here we are, we're through the brick like the Kool-Aid Man.
Oh, yeah. Insta-hole.
Well, it was mostly Dark Cat. He was so adamant about going after the SWAT Kats that the first thing he told Hardra was, I don't want military secrets, I want to destroy the SWAT Kats. So my thought was, why don't you just use the military secrets to destroy them? Because he's got this mass arsenal of secrets that he can use to both use against Mega Cat City and the SWAT Kats. I mean, granted, I guess it would take a little too long to, put these things together, but at the same time, it's all right there. So, I don't know why he figured that top military secrets were just an afterthought.
Makes you wonder where those went after all this.
Yeah.
Yes, that too.
They were in the computer that hard drive was in when it exploded.
He didn't make external hard drive backups.
It's a very difficult episode to choose a Mad Cat moment for because it is so good. So I think I'm just going to go back to my earlier point of how they were able to keep up with somebody who's going as fast as electricity through the power lines. They were going around corners and Banky was like, physics, people! Why don't you physics? I know we're talking about a guy who can transform into electricity. That's not my gripe. It's the fact that this jet can bank round corners and keep up with a thunderbolt, essentially.
How does a Turbo Cat not have some sort of security feature against anybody who can just jump in and take off with it? Because hard drive did it pretty easily. So I would think that an alarm or something to prevent anybody from just taking the jet.
I think after this episode, T-Bone puts a little club on the steering wheel of the Turbo Cat. It's the big obvious one, which I think is worth revisiting. It's this whole death trap business about you've captured the heroes, you have them incapacitated, unconscious, you've defeated them, stolen their stuff, and you put them on the world's slowest moving conveyor belt. The thing is, you don't even stay in the room to watch them die. It's so ridiculous, and the fact that Hard Drive even points this out himself is so amusing to me.
He even had all those TVs, man. What was that, 200? And he couldn't have put one of them, next to the one of Angora going on about blah, 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 to watch and make sure.
I'm reminded of a particular line in Megamind. Doctor had to go, Hard Drive, this is what makes you a villain, but not a supervillain. It's all about presentation.
I want to thank our special guest, Felony Cat, for joining us for this episode of the Mega SWAT Kast. Thank you for lending your Dark Cat expertise to this episode, and it's really great to have you again. We appreciate you spending your time on this.
Well, thank you.
If you want to see more of Felony stuff, make sure to visit her website at felonycat.com. That's felonycat with a K, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir. You can find me at felonycat.com.
I also want to thank our regular panelists, Di.
You're most welcome. You can find my ramblings on Twitter at MintySage.
And I've been Nee Knight, that's Nee with 2 E's, and you can find me at Nee Knight at Twitter.
And I'm Matt, better known as Modad. You can find more stuff on Twitter at SWAT Kats. You can find the latest news, updates, occasional few seconds of amusement. Hopefully, the next episode we'll be talking about Mega SWAT Kast is Chaos and Crystal, which is Lance Falk's second episode that we know of that he wrote for SWAT Kats. It's a pretty neat little story involving science gone wrong. Who would have thought?
On this show?
Is that even a question on this show?
So thanks again to everyone for listening. As always, you can find us at podcast.swatkats.info to choose your listening option. We're also available on iTunes, so make sure to leave a couple stars there and maybe a few reviews. Helps the show go along, helps other people to see it and find it, and keeps the nostalgia going. So thanks again for listening, and I've said that enough. All right, guys, thanks again. Appreciate that.
Well, that was anticlimactic.
It's like, eh.
Well, after 2.5 hours, I think we can all say it's a case of, yeah, that's enough.
This has been a swatkats.info production. At swatkats.info, you can find hundreds of entries, thousands of images, and links to all the great fan creations across the internet. Thanks for listening.
Oh, good God.
Doom! Doom upon you all! Doom, I say, and doom again!
I'll let you recover for a moment before I bring Felony in here.
If I lose, everyone loses! Oh no, I've broken Sage!